What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from the altar again, and this time we are here with Grant of Through Fire. It is great to be able to talk with you. Thanks for being here, man.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
Anytime, man. Anytime. It's so awesome to have you here. The third Through Fire album coming out this spring. Can't wait to hear more of you guys. Absolutely been killing it with the last two. The first two singles that we got off this album, Karma Kills and Lose It, is that a good representation of what the entirety of Devil's Got You Dreaming is going to sound like, or is that just the tip of the iceberg of what's to come?
Brother, that's the tip of the iceberg, man. We got a wide variety coming your way. We got some really heavy up-tempo stuff that I think is just going to crush people and melt faces that people aren't really going to expect, actually. I think it's a little tiny bit heavier than what we've been doing on some stuff. We've also got we like to do our ballady songs, and we've got a real solid acoustic vibe song on there. Like on the last album, we had Die Sober, so we got a song that's sort of in that world, and a couple like heart wrenchers, but there's a few super up tempo songs on there that I'm excited for people to hear.
Was there sort of like a preconceived vision of this? Did it feel like you were just kind of picking up where you left off after All Animal, or was this like a very experimental songwriting process, bringing two new members on board, and a lot has happened between All Animal and now, clearly?
I feel like this was like a culmination of coming out of the pandemic, people with their personal trials and tribulations, going through some depression and things like that. Myself coming out of an 11-year relationship that ended with a crash and burn, lots of pain and things coming out of that. That's where you kind of get Karma Kills, the skeletons coming out of the closet there. So like I've been calling this album for me was true therapy. Like in the past we've done some songs and things that like really hit things that we've all been through, and where I was like kind of relying on past experiences to really pour out emotion into the songs. But on this one, like I really went into the studio with a fresh like a lot of angst and hurt, and like coming right out of like I said, that 11-year relationship, and the writing really helped me let out a lot of that frustration in a very healthy way. So got to actually sing out how I was feeling through these songs, and there's a couple that are like when I was doing them in the studio, I was telling Justin, man, I don't even feel like doing this song right now. I just want to keep doing the Crush You songs. But it's got the full spectrum where we go through it all. So, yeah, I think, and to talk about where we left off with All In, I feel like this is like, we're really finding who we are on this album. Like the first album was great and it has a lot of character. The second album, I feel like we've got a little experimental, especially me as a singer. I was growing as a singer and experimented more with my clean vocals and going higher range and stuff. But on this album, I really locked in what my range is and dialed that in. And yeah, I feel like it's much more fine tuned and like who we really are. I feel like moving forward, this is what you're gonna get.
As the vocalist of Through Fire, because you clearly pour your heart into the lyrics. Like when I first heard Breathe for the first time, when I listened to a song like Reborn, and then I listened to Breakout, and then going right into Where You Lie, I feel like the lyrics are just as hard hitting and really really intriguing as much as the music itself. Have you always needed to hear the music before you came up with the lyrics, or could your lyrical ideas, such as you're bringing the personal elements into Karma Kills, could your lyrical ideas maybe help dictate the sound of the music that we hear?
So we have a very interesting dynamic in our band, actually. Justin is our main writer. As a matter of fact, he writes basically everything, instrumentally, lyrically, everything. My input is more conceptual and kind of just like feeding him like what I'm going through. If I have song ideas, I pitch him his way, things like that, and he'll like just go to town and write awesome songs, sometimes about what I'm going through, sometimes just off the wall, and I just relate to them and come to it in that way. But no, it's not even like Karma Kills, for instance, is not even my own penmanship, the lyrics, but it was written after I spent like 2 hours on the phone with Justin discussing exactly what was going on and what was happening and all that. And he went into a songwriting session with another writer, and they came out with the perfect song. That he has this uncanny ability to capture what someone's going through, and I just happen to be a source of inspiration for that in that way. So no, I didn't even write the lyrics, but having the true life experience I'm going through, where it's like an actual like situation. It's not just any old song and just singing it. It's like straight out of my life, but off of his pen and paper. So if that makes any sense.
Definitely.
Like we're like best friends, and when you're best friends with a great songwriter, you know, that's kind of how that works.
Well, of course, and I was a fan of Justin's writing from his previous band, which I to this day still have a hard time like pronouncing. I think it was like Egmatic or something like that. Emphatic, yeah. I remember that hearing like a song or two on Octane back in the day from that band, and so you and Justin working together is definitely an awesome combination. Do you and Justin though maybe need to be in the same sort of headspace when writing together in order to like make the song sound emotionally consistent? Do both of you need to be feeling the same way and resonate with the song in a similar way, or maybe your differences is what actually helps you guys have such a strong songwriting connection?
I think that what makes it really strong is he knows me very well, so he knows what I will sing and what I won't sing. Before I don't have to really tell him, and he knows the kind of music that I like and what I relate to and resonate with. So he can do it. He doesn't need me in the room with him or anything like that. He does it all by himself most of the time. Usually when we sit together and try to do it, don't get as much done. But like if I can sit down on the phone with him or in person and just like pour out a situation, he'll go in his basement by himself and put into song and words everything I explained and what I'm going through. Sometimes like in 15 minutes, like he actually just wrote a song the other day that I'm excited to get to record at some point, hopefully soon, that really just summarized everything I'm going through currently. And so he knows the whole situation with my current girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, and there's a lot of back and forth and drama there. And one of my buddies knew some of the details that I didn't even tell Justin, and he called him and they talked, and he told him everything that had happened. And Justin sent me this song, and I was blown away. I said, dude, you don't even know how perfect this is right now unless you talked to Dave and he told you. And he said, yeah, I got the phone with Dave this morning. I wrote that song in 15 minutes. And it was like exactly like when I was reading it, I'm like, dude, this is like coming out of my own heart. Like, but that's just because he knows, like, from hours and hours of phone conversations and literally being there, exactly what I'm going through. And he's been one of the people coaching me and giving me advice on how to handle the situation. So it's a real life situation, but he wrote it in a song. And it's like that kind of thing is what I told Justin the other day. I was like, dude, you fake this. I couldn't sit in Nashville with songwriters and like try to tell them what I'm going through and like come out with a song this good because you know me like very, very, very well, and you know the situation very, very well, and so it's like very personal for him, but it's stuff that I'm going through, if that makes sense. So it's like I'm a writer on it in a way, but I'm not, if that makes any sense.
Definitely.
But it's, again, becomes a big therapy thing for me. Anyway, like, okay, this song's gonna really, really help me out. We also know there's a ton of other people going through the same type of stuff, and since it's a real life situation, Justin loves like he always says like if it's real, that's how it's gonna connect. And our best songs that's where they come from, like real things we're going through, and being able to put a song in something dressed up in emotion or try to put myself there because it's real for my life.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I like to write lyrics too, brother, and sometimes it gives me a song where there's an open spot and I get to write some things here and there. In the past and on the last couple albums, he gave me a shot at that, but usually he writes and finishes the whole song by himself.
Depending on what the song is about, though, whether it is something very personal, like about your relationship, as you mentioned, or even like when you're doing the Lights cover that was off of Breathe, because I feel like Through Fire tackles a lot of different subject matters. Does it resonate with you differently or feel differently when you're singing it?
Okay, that's a cool question. Like something like Lights, I happened to know that song. I had a really good friend that liked a certain version of that song, so I already knew it pretty well. And I liked it too. So it was just, in that case, it's kind of just relating to it. So I don't have to really go through something in the moment because like in the past, I can think of things I've been through or how I relate to it. And even that song I related to in certain ways, like talks about your like sibling in another place and you're kind of thinking of the same things. And I have a half brother and a sister that I didn't grow up with, so I was able to kind of connect on that level, and I was thinking about them, and yeah, just like my spirituality and stuff. Like you show the lights, like yeah, there's a lot of ways I can usually just dive in and it's like being in a role or something, but 90%, 99% of the time, it becomes real to me in one way, shape, or form. So we just have some of them that are like absolute scripted out of my story, and others that are just things that we all go through. And I can just, like anyone hears a song and they, and it means something to them. But when I hear them, it definitely means something to me. So I go where it takes me. And then it's just as personal, just as real, basically, no matter whether it's a cover or not. Like Jar of Hearts, I just listened to that today on the jukebox. Our cover of our deluxe, one of my favorite covers we did. It didn't get enough love, in my opinion. It should have been on the radio. I think that's one of my favorite covers we've done. And I can relate that to my current situation. Like collecting your jar of hearts, tearing love apart. Who do you think you are? There's ice in your soul. Like that feels like current and real to me right now, even though that's a thing we did then. So you know what I mean? Like, and it's gonna hit someone every time they hear it. So that's what I love about the songs we do and the music that we do, and even in the covers that we pick, because we try to pick covers that are gonna be a subject matter to this same type of stuff that we would usually write.
Yeah, I've always loved the way you guys do covers because there's times where like a cover song could come off like the band is doing it to just be funny if they're like a heavy metal band covering a pop song, and then there's times where like it's either too similar to the original or it's too butchered. To me, one of the best covers I've ever heard, and it was meant to be a joke, but when Flesh Got Apocalypse, a death metal band, covered Blue Daba D and put their own spin on it, or when Bad Wolves covered Zombie, that brought a new layer of context to it, but the material aged so very well. Yeah. So I think the way you were able to accomplish your covers is actually not easy to do, and you guys got it down to a T.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. And it seems like we like to do female vocalists, which I appreciate because that always adds a whole dynamic. Like you're tackling something like it's automatically going to be different because I'm a guy. And like on Listen to Your Heart, like I chose we could have lowered the key and like made it more manly and I could have raspied it up and things like that. But with that song, I wanted to sing it in the same key as the original, heavy up the music, and the lyrics are just very passionate. That song's like, a hit, like a number one song from the 90s, early 90s. So it connects with a whole generation of people that don't or maybe don't normally listen to bands like us. But it was a lot of fun, and it's not too far from something we write. Listen to your heart,
Yeah, 100%. I think your guys are definitely going to be a lot of pop fans' gateway into heavy metal and rock.
Yeah, that's dope.
But when sometimes you have to confront your own personal demons in the music that you write. Obviously, it's very cathartic. Like what you've addressed in Karma Kills and whatnot. But do you find it that when you have to address your own personal struggles, or when darkness is the fuel behind the creativity, that can maybe make the songwriting process counterintuitive in a way where it becomes more deteriorating than it is cathartic?
Like where it's kind of like dredging up the pain inside
Yeah.
instead of fixing it.
Yeah.
Um, you know, that's how I feel recently, where I was going through some things that were very depressing. And my buddy said, just go write a song. And just the thought of it, I couldn't do it. I didn't even want to try. I was like, you know what? It's just going to hurt too bad. I can't, like, I know that makes sense. And I would like to be able to pour it out on paper, but it literally was hurting too bad to even try to do that. But that's why I'm grateful for Justin, because he did it for me. So I can do it sometimes. I can do that, but this was one of those times where that wasn't the case. So it's usually with Karma Kills, though. Like the second I read the lyrics to that song, I was like, "This is perfect," and I couldn't wait to record it. And when we did, it was truly like it felt very therapeutic. Like it made me feel better, and I was like, I can't wait for this person to hear this song, and of course everyone else to hear it as fans, and like because I know everyone can relate to that.
Of course. And you mentioned you're very much in touch with the conceptual side of Through Fire, and I've noticed that like you guys weren't just a standard paint by numbers rock band. Like when I first saw you, the first time I saw you was on the OTEP tour from 2016. And like I've noticed that there was an interesting visual aesthetic, and that there was sort of like an interesting movement that was present through the band. Like I would say that Through Fire is definitely a band that has a lot more than just something we listen to. Was this always the vision for Through Fire since you and Justin first started together and started writing, or did this kind of like come into play as you started writing more and more, and you got your foot in the door with the music and everything like that?
Yeah, so you mentioned emphatic. Right? So Justin's been doing stuff at a pretty high level for quite a while. And I joined that band too. That was my first tour back in 2011 on the Carnival of Madness. And there was, sorry, I didn't come in this room over here.
No,
he's always been about the show and having a certain look and a very, very high energy. And there's like a bar set for that and a standard that we don't do anything less than that. We're not going to just stand around on stage ever. And we're not just going to come out in like, I don't know, like gym shorts or something like that. And nothing wrong with that. That's cool, but that's just not our thing. Like we're going to put on a show and we're going to go real hard no matter what. And Through Fire, like that's just kind of what we're about. We want to bring a really high energy show and make it look like it sounds. And we love to do that. It's not just to entertain people. That's how we like to perform. And whether I was with Justin or not, I'm always going to be headbanging. I'm always going to be in your face. I'm always going to be like trying to make somebody connect and like feel like, man, this is like he's singing to me. Like this is like I'm right in your face. Like I'm not just going to stand behind the microphone and like not move. Like I want to look like the music's pouring through me. And I've grown in that. Like, it used to be more difficult, but and it took more effort. But now it's just like just comes very natural. And there's no self-consciousness around it. There's no nerves around it. It's just that's what we want to do. We call it slamming. We want to go up there and slam.
You definitely do. You guys have the sound of a hard rock band, but the energy of a straight up death metal or hardcore band.
Yeah, brother. That's awesome.
But when you are playing, when you're bringing that emotional energy live on stage, or even when you're like, in the vocal booth recording everything, is that emotional energy something that like you need to seek out? Can you almost like look for inspiration in a way, or do you just kind of have to let it strike you within that moment?
I feel pretty blessed to just kind of immediately as I start singing, like I just naturally go into that. Like whatever's happening in the lyric and whatever visual I get in my mind while I'm in the studio, I rock out harder in the studio than I do on stage. Like I used to think, man, I need to do this on stage. This would be really great. Like I just want to bring this energy there, because when I'm in the booth, it's like totally just hands moving and like facial expressions, like it's very animated. I'm not just sitting back, like having to try to work myself into it. I'm automatically very into it. And to my own surprise, almost, I used to notice that, like, man, I should really record this. But I felt like if I record it, then I'll overthink about it. So I'd rather have the music come across than have a picture of it. But definitely very real when it comes to like truly connecting emotionally to the lyrics. And I think that's just part of my gift. Like, that's like, I can't do it any other way. Like, it's not just hitting notes. It's like, it's for real.
Definitely. And when a fan connects with your music in a specific way, like, because I could tell when you're singing your heart out on stage that it definitely resonates with the fans. But, all art can be open to interpretation in a way. So, like, when a fan resonates with your music in their own way, do you think that adds another layer of meaning to the material as well?
Definitely. I think it's really cool. I just had someone tell me what they thought Lose It meant to them, which was a little different than what it meant to me. And I thought, oh, that's really cool. And I love that people can kind of peel out whatever it means to them from it. And it doesn't have to be a specific, well, no, that's not what the song's about. It's actually about this. It's like, hey, if that's where it takes you and that's what you're seeing and feeling, awesome. That's great.
Yeah, definitely. It almost seems like art can evolve over time as you evolve as an artist, right? I've always said art is life. It could grow, it can develop, and it can eventually die. So do you think that maybe like the meaning of the material can also evolve with you? Like, do you look at Breathe, for example, with maybe a different perspective now as opposed to when you did back then?
Well, with Breathe, that song's really special, just by how many people have come up to us over the years and told us some of the most insane stories of how that song came on the radio while they were at their lowest moment, like, and it inspired them and got them through like super hard stuff like divorce or and the same thing with Stronger too. I've heard the same stories on Stronger, but Breathe, a lot of people bring that up. They'll come up and be in tears and say, man, I just want to tell you how much this song means to me and how much you have no idea how much it helped us. And they're like, please never stop doing what you do. You have no idea how your music affects people, which really I feel like I do have an idea because music has affected me the same way. But it's a really beautiful, special thing to see that our art and the things that we've done are connecting with people that way. I mean, I literally prayed about Breathe while we were recording that song, and I was like, God, I hope this song can hit people and help them through really hard times like songs in the past have helped me. Because we were halfway through recording that song when I realized how good it was. Like, I was like, I had to call Justin. I'm like, dude, you realize this song, like how good it is? I'm like, this song's like a straight cry from the heart prayer, dude. It's like, and he never told me, and I've never asked, but I do recall back at that time, again, going through a very tough situation, and we were on the phone, and I remember telling him, dude, I cannot even breathe, dude. Like, I just wish I could breathe right now. I was so stressed and had so much anxiety. And I don't know if that helped him inspire the song, and I've never asked. I don't even really personally care. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. But and sometimes I don't want to ask him those types of things because I don't want to get in his head and make him overthink stuff and be like, no, I'm not trying to write just because you said it, But and I've told him that before too, like, and he appreciates that because I don't want to get in the way of inspiring things, but it's just an interesting dynamic. But yeah, it was just right on time, like a lot of great songs are, and in true is, with Breathe, even the coolest story we heard with that one was really recently at a festival. A kid came up to us and said, dude, that song saved my life. And he's like, I know you hear that all the time. And yeah, we've heard that a lot, but it wasn't metaphorically for him. It was, he's like, no, dude, it saved my life. Like I was on a stool or a chair, or however he said it, with putting a rope around his neck. And he said he had his Pandora playing, and he had heard the song before. He was already a fan, but it was just random on Pandora, and it came on. And he said that while he was sitting there thinking about taking his life, that song started playing, and he said that his words were, I said, "They're right," and then got down and didn't go through with it. And I was like, dude, are you freaking kidding me? And he's like, I'm not BSing. Like, that really happened, dude. I just want to tell you, you literally saved my life. And I said, man, we've heard a lot of cool stories, but I'll never forget that one.
Wow, that is truly beautiful, and God bless that fan, and God bless you guys. You connect with a lot of people. And that's such a heart touching story, and I know that wasn't the last, and probably not the first time either that I think your music resonated with people in that way. So excellent job for not just giving us great music to rock out to, but giving us music that really has been an escapism and a form of confronting our own personal demons.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That's really, I mean, that's like what it's kind of all about, dude.
Definitely.
There's recognition, trying to make a career, all that stuff's great. But where you really connect with somebody like that, dude, that is just like the top. That's the most special part about any of it.
Yeah, that's more accomplishing to me than any sold out stadium story.
Completely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Is there just anything else with Through Fire that you'd like to promote with the release of Devil's Got You Dreamin?
Yeah, well, I would say that the album is coming out April 21st, 2023. Super excited about that. Finally have a date to announce. We've got 2 tours coming up. We're going to be out with Saliva here in about 2 weeks. We're going out for a 3-week tour with those guys. And then we're going to go back out with Il Nino through all of May and early June. So be looking for us. Find us on throughfiremusic.com or at our Facebook page or our Instagram. You can find us at @tfiremusic on Instagram, on TikTok, and also on Twitter. All of them at @tfiremusic, and we post our tour dates on there. Also on the website throughfiremusic.com. So look for a date and come out and hang out with us and get some new merch and headbang and rock in the crowd and hear some of these new songs and take some pictures and post them and share with your friends. And we're just excited to be out there again and to get to see everybody again and share some of this new music with everybody. Totally excited about this album, like big time. I can't wait for people to hear it.
I can't wait for people to hear it too, man. Thank you so much, everybody. Grant of Through Fire, Devil's Got You Dreamin. Be sure to pick that up. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.